name is Francis Tolliver. I come from Liverpool. 2 years ago the war was waiting for me after school. To Belgium and to Flanders, to Germany to here, I fought for king and country I loved dear. 'Twas Christmas in the trenches, where the frost so bitter hung. Frozen fields of France where still no Christmas song was sung. Our families back in England were toasting us that day, their brave and glorious lads so far away. I was lying with my messmates on the cold and rocky ground, when across the line of battle came a most peculiar sound. Says I, now listen up me boys, each soldier strained to hear, as one young German voice sang out so clear. He's singing bloody well, you know, my partner says to me. Soon one by one each German voice joined in harmony. The cannons rested silent, the gas cloud rolled no more, as Christmas brought us respite from the war. As soon as they were finished, a reverent pause was spent. God rest ye merry gentlemen, struck up some lads from Kent. The next they sang was Stille Nacht, 'tis silent night, says I, and in two tongues one song filled up that sky. There's someone coming towards us, the frontline sentry cried. All sights were fixed on one lone figure trudging from their side. His truce flag like a Christmas star shone on the plain so bright, as he bravely strode unarmed into the night. Then one by one on either side walked into no man's land. With neither gun nor bayonet, we met there hand to hand. We shared some secret brandy and we wished each other well. And in a flare-lit football match, we gave 'em hell. We traded chocolates and cigarettes and photographs from home. These sons and fathers far away from families of their own. Young Sanders played his squeeze box and they had a violin. This curious and unlikely band of men. Soon daylight stole upon us, and France was France once more. With sad farewells we each began to settle back to war. But the question haunted every heart that beat that wondrous night. Whose family have I fixed within my sight? 'Twas Christmas in the trenches where the frost so bitter hung. Frozen fields of France were warmed and songs of peace were sung. For the walls they kept between us to exact the work of war had crumbled and were gone forevermore. Oh, my name is Francis Tolliver, in Liverpool I dwell. Each Christmas come since World War I, I've learned its lessons well. That the ones who call the shots won't be among the dead and lame. And on each end of the rifle, we're the same. Please join me in Gasho as I read the words of our tradition's founder, Shinran Shonin. Rivers of blind passions on entering the ocean, the great compassionate vow of unhindered light filling the 10 quarters, become one in taste with that sea of wisdom. Nam Amidavas, Nam Amidavas, Nam Amidavas, Nam Amidavas. That is from the Hymns of the Pure Land Masters, number 42, Master Kan Muan, in the Collected Works of Shinran, page 371. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the last Sunday service of 2025. I hope that you all have had a wonderful holiday season. The song I led this talk with is Christmas in the Trenches by American folk singer-songwriter John McCutcheon, and it's on his Winter Solstice album. I first heard this song in the mid-'80s. One of my housemates when I was a grad student was a folk music enthusiast and played this album over and over. I became very familiar with the song. I had assumed that the song was something of an anti-war allegory to the commonality of human desires and feelings. But it was many years later when I heard a story on NPR about the Christmas Truce of 1914 that I realized that the song was not a fable at all, but was based on actual events. December 1914. World War I, which broke out on July 28th and was expected to be over in just 4 months, had ground to a stalemate. Casualties already numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Soldiers from many nations found themselves in miserable trenches, facing one another across a devastated landscape, some as close as a mere 30 yards away. The Western Front, the demarcation between the Allied and the Central Forces, extended roughly 475 miles. On Christmas Eve 1914, something extraordinary happened. Along the length of the Western Front, soldiers laid down their arms. This was a spontaneous act. Not all soldiers or units participated, and it definitely was not sanctioned by a command. For a brief moment, the dehumanizing machinery of war paused, and the basic humanity of each person shone through. These were men who only hours earlier had been told to kill one another. Yet, in that moment of unexpected empathy, they saw each other as fellow human beings, as sons, brothers, husbands, fathers, as people who simply wanted to go home. Unsurprisingly, the truce didn't last long. When commanders learned about the truce, they were furious. By December 26, officers on both sides demanded their men return to fighting. High command condemned the fraternization, fearing it would undermine the soldiers' will to fight. That concern from high command was well-founded. Many of the men who took part in the Christmas truce lost the will to fight and refused to fire directly at their opponents, purposely aiming high or wide. For months after the Christmas truce, frontline battle operations were hindered. Fresh soldiers, ones who had not made the personal connection with the other side, had to be rotated in for the terrible work of war to resume. The Christmas Truce of 1914 is remembered because, in the midst of overwhelming violence, the light of compassion broke through, even if only briefly. If we look honestly at ourselves and the world around us, we see conflict everywhere. Global tension and animosity, social division, and personal friction in our families, workplace, and communities. Buddhism doesn't turn away from this. Instead, it begins with the First Noble Truth, which reminds us that dukkha, that sense of suffering, pain, unease, or unsatisfactoriness, is woven into the fabric of life and is unavoidable. The Dharma teaches us that we are beings driven by fears, desires, and insecurities we often don't even perceive. We are invited to look directly at our own limitations, our blind passions, and our self-centered habits. Those limitations can cloud our ability to truly see another person's humanity. They can block our empathy. Yet, it is precisely because we are limited in this way that the boundless compassion of Amida Buddha is so meaningful. Amida's vow does not ask us to be perfect. It embraces us as we are and opens our hearts to see ourselves and others in a new way. And as we see others in a new way, we begin to experience moments when the barriers between us fade. The Christmas truce wasn't the result of a plan, a treaty, or a command. It wasn't a strategy. It arose naturally from the shared human heart, what we might understand as the working of Amida's compassion in the world. We encounter the promise of the Dharma not because we are wise or good, but because we are already embraced in the ultimate reality of wisdom and compassion that is Amida. The soldiers on that battlefield did not suddenly become saints. They were ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances, experiencing extreme fear and confusion. And yet, something greater than their fear opened space for empathy. Empathy involves sharing in the feelings and experiences of others. It requires vulnerability, as we must open ourselves up to the emotion of those around us. The Dharma encourages us to see others not merely as separate entities, but as fellow travelers on this journey of life. When others suffer, we suffer along with them. When we suffer, others suffer along with us. This empathy fosters compassion, guiding us to support one another through our challenges. For me, realizing this deep connection is the heart of Jodo Shinshu. Shinran's words remind us of the transformative power of compassion. The rivers of blind passions distract us, cloud our judgment, and separate us from one another. In times of conflict, it is all too easy to become ensnared by our blind passions, greed, anger, ignorance, creating barriers that seem insurmountable. However, when we allow the ocean of the compassionate vow to fill our hearts, we recognize our shared humanity, and the walls kept between us crumble. Prior to the Christmas truce, soldiers from both sides saw each other as enemies. War had conditioned them to perceive the other side with suspicion and hostility. Yet, on that wondrous night, they allowed empathy to flow through them. By stepping out of their trenches and acknowledging the person on the other side, they found a profound connection that transcended their identities as adversaries. The shared experience of joy, laughter, and simple humanity became a compassionate light that illuminated the darkness of war. They saw that on each end of the rifle, they were the same. We may not be on the front lines of war, but we experience conflict in many ways. Sometimes the trenches are psychological. Sometimes there are walls of resentment we build around ourselves. Sometimes they are the invisible divisions in our communities. When we are angry with someone, when we hold a grudge, when we judge someone harshly, we create our own battlefield. We dig our own trench. And we don't always notice how easily we dehumanize others through our assumptions, frustrations, or fears. In Jodo Shinshu, we don't force ourselves to be compassionate. Instead, we listen deeply to the call of Amida. We say the Nembutsuge. We acknowledge our limitations. And in so doing, little by little, our hearts soften. We begin to see that, like the soldiers on both sides of the battlefield, all of us are struggling. All of us long for understanding. And all of us are embraced equally by Amida's compassion. We often encounter moments where empathy and compassion can shine brightly. Whether it's a simple act of kindness, listening to someone in need, or taking the time to understand a different perspective, we can all contribute to the ocean of compassion that Shinran speaks of. The Christmas truce was a fleeting moment, a sliver of peace amidst the horrible turmoil of war. But its message endures. We can carry this lesson into our everyday interactions. Compassion, when practiced, transcends our divisions, creating connections that nourish our souls and remind us of our shared journey. Each time we choose understanding over judgment, we contribute to that sea of wisdom, uniting ourselves in the shared experience of life. Let us be inspired by the actions of those soldiers in the trenches. Let us embrace empathy and compassion, enriching not only our lives, but also the lives of those around us. The world may still be fraught with discord and conflict, but together, by embodying the spirit of compassion, we can step out of our own trench and create our own truce in the face of hatred and division. Please join me in Gasho. Rivers of blind passions on entering the ocean, the great compassionate vow of unhindered light filling the 10 quarters, become one in taste with that sea of wisdom. Namaste.